My name is Calvin, and something happened recently that completely shook me to my core. It was such a jarring experience that I knew I had to talk about it somehow. What my girlfriend said to me in front of a room full of people, during a party she had planned for me, is something I can't forget. It wasn't just humiliating, it was the exact moment when I realized that everything in my life had changed. One sentence from her was all it took for me to understand that I'd been living in denial for far too long. But before I get into what she said, I need to take you back a bit. Looking back now, I see all the signs that were right there in front of me. I just didn't want to see them. I've always been a quiet, reserved person, not a fan of crowds or small talk. Juliana, my girlfriend, is the complete opposite. She's loud, quick to speak her mind, and impossible to ignore. She has this magnetic energy that draws people in without effort. The kind of woman who lights up a room as soon as she walks in. We've been together for 5 years and living together for the past 3. At the start, I thought our differences were a good thing. She helped me come out of my shell, and I gave her the calm she needed when everything else around her was chaotic. We seemed to balance each other out. But over time I began to notice the cracks. I started wondering if our connection was strong enough to last. Marriage had been on my mind for a while. I'd even bought a ring. It wasn't something I decided on lightly, I really thought about it. But recently Juliana had started pulling away, not just emotionally but physically as well. I know life gets busy and sometimes intimacy takes a hit, but this wasn't a phase. Weeks turned into months. Every time I tried to get close to her, she dodged me either with a joke or a quick excuse. I didn't push her, I gave her space and stayed patient, telling myself it was just a rough patch. But inside I was falling apart. I started questioning myself. Had I done something to push her away? Did she no longer find me attractive? Then came the night that changed everything. We went to a party, a simple celebration for one of her friends. I thought it would be a good chance for us to reconnect. But from the moment we got there, she was different. She was drinking more than usual, bouncing between different groups, laughing loudly, dancing energetically. I stayed back, gave her space, but I couldn't ignore what was happening anymore. She started flirting with a server right in front of me. Then, when the music kicked up, she went onto the dance floor and started grinding up on strangers like I wasn't even there. I felt a mixture of shame, disbelief, and something deeper I couldn't quite identify. People were watching and I knew they were. I didn't want to cause a scene, but I needed something to hold on to confirm that I wasn't just imagining things. So, I pulled out my phone and recorded a video, not to humiliate her, but to prove to myself that what I was seeing was real. Eventually, I went up to her, wrapped my arm around her, and got her out of there. She was laughing, tipsy, and either unaware or pretending to be. The next morning, after the haze had worn off, I made her coffee and told her how I felt. I laid it all out, the disrespect, the humiliation, the pain. She looked at me like I was speaking a different language. She said she didn't remember any of it. So I showed her the video. I thought maybe that would help her see things from my perspective. But instead she turned it all around on me. She said I violated her trust by recording her while she was vulnerable. She accused me of not protecting her and said that a real man wouldn't have spied on her. I just sat there, stunned, as she twisted everything until I began questioning myself. I almost walked out that day, but I didn't. I still loved her, and even though everything inside me screamed that something was wrong, I stayed. After that, we continued living together. We slept in the same bed, but we weren't really together anymore. Conversations were short, mechanical. Her phone, which used to be left around unlocked, was now constantly in her hand. She was cold and impatient with me, and it felt like just being around her irritated her. She started going out more often. At first she said it was for work or to see friends, but her explanations became vague, "Don't wait up," and "just out." Sometimes she wouldn't come back until after midnight. I didn't question her. Not because I was okay with it, but because I didn't know what else to do. I felt like I had nothing left to give. The last time I confronted her, she twisted the situation so skillfully that I started doubting my own memory. So I shut down. Then, out of nowhere, one random Tuesday night she came home early and said she wanted to talk. She apologized, saying she knew she hadn't been herself, that the party incident had been a wake-up call for her. She promised she'd never drink like that again. She seemed sincere, and after 5 years together, I wanted to believe her. I remembered the woman I fell in love with, and a part of me hoped she was still in there somewhere. So, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But even with her apology, something inside me still felt off. I couldn't stop thinking about one moment from that night at the party. It wasn't just about her dancing with strangers. It was when she walked up to one of my friends, a guy she'd always said she disliked, and started flirting with him. At the time, I brushed it off as drunken jealousy, thinking maybe she was just acting out because we had argued earlier that day. But now I'm not so sure. I had to step between them and ask her what she was doing, and she just laughed like it was harmless fun. That moment keeps replaying in my mind, and I'm starting to wonder if something had already been going on between them, something I never knew about. Lately, I've been thinking about checking her phone, though I never thought I would be that person. It happened once, maybe twice, and then a few more times, but she was always ahead of me. She had locked screens, hidden apps, and constantly changing passwords. Eventually, I gave up trying. With each passing day, the distance between us grew. There was no love left, just a cold silence that we both got used to. So, when my 33rd birthday came up, I didn't expect anything at all. Honestly, I'd already lowered my expectations when it came to Juliana. Maybe she'd mumble a quick happy birthday or order some food for us, and that would be it. That was our routine by then, quiet, distant, and safe in a way that felt like surrender. But when I came home that evening, I was hit with a surprise. The place had been completely transformed. Balloons, decorations, a huge happy 33rd birthday Calvin banner, music, drinks, and a room full of people I hadn't seen in years. Juliana was at the center, grinning like a child on Christmas morning. She rushed over, kissed me on the cheek, and handed me a drink. Part of me was touched. She had clearly put a lot of effort into making it special. But another part of me felt completely out of place. I've never been someone who enjoys the spotlight. I'm not a party person. Big, noisy rooms aren't my thing. She thrives in that environment. I need quiet to think and breathe. So, while everyone else laughed and danced, I stood on the sidelines, offering polite smiles and nods of thanks. At one point, I reached into my pocket and felt the small ring box I'd been carrying for weeks. I looked across the room at her and wondered if this was the right time, but something inside me said, no, not yet. Maybe not ever. So, I left the ring in my pocket and continued sipping my drink. Then she grabbed the mic and tapped her glass. She was a little tipsy but steady and confident. She began with a typical toast, talking about how proud she was of me and how far we'd come. People clapped and laughed, but then her tone shifted. She locked eyes with me and, with a half laugh, said she sometimes felt like I was more of a brother than a lover. The room went quiet. A few people chuckled awkwardly, unsure if it was meant to be a joke. I stood still, my face neutral, but inside I was breaking apart. She didn't stop. She went on to say that she wished I were her brother instead of her partner, that the romance was gone, and that she stayed because life with me was easy. I gave her support and stability, everything she needed, but not what she wanted. I scanned the room, seeing the discomfort on people's faces, but Juliana just kept going as if she didn't realize the weight of her words. Maybe she thought she was being funny, charming even. All I felt was humiliated, betrayed, and disrespected. Without saying a word, I put my drink down, walked to the door, and left. In that moment, I understood. She didn't see me as her partner anymore. I was just a fixture in her life, something comfortable, not someone she truly cared for. And I wasn't going to stay in that role any longer. I couldn't go back to the apartment after that. So, I checked into a nearby hotel. I told myself I'd get some rest, but I couldn't stop replaying the night in my head. My phone kept buzzing with messages, calls, and voicemails from her, but I didn't want to hear it. I turned it off. The next day, I turned it back on, and the messages and missed calls continued to pile up. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Eventually, I knew I had to face her. I went back home. She was there. The first thing she did was act like nothing had happened, as if I had just randomly walked out on my own party. She asked, confused and soft, "Why did you leave? What happened?" I looked at her and said, "I accept being your brother, just like you wanted." She stared at me as though I were speaking in another language. "What are you talking about? I never said that." She insisted, frustrated. I laughed bitterly, exhausted, and repeated her words from the party. The ones she had said into the mic in front of everyone, about wishing I were her brother and how the love was gone. She tried to brush it off, pretend I had misunderstood, but then I saw it on her face. The fight left her eyes, and in a quiet voice she finally said it, "I don't feel romantic love anymore. But I still respect you." That was all I needed to hear. I already knew it deep down. I'd felt it for a long time, but hearing her say it out loud confirmed everything. I told her we couldn't continue. The apartment was rented, and I told her she could move out or I would. She started crying and begged me to stay, saying we could fix it, but I couldn't trust her anymore. I couldn't stay in a relationship where I was just the stable option, not the one she loved. So I packed my things, grabbed what I needed, and left. The days that followed were quiet. I spent them thinking, replaying everything, trying to make sense of how it all fell apart. We started with love and respect, but somewhere along the way we lost both. The intimacy faded, not just physically but emotionally too. I let it happen. I didn't speak up. I hoped things would get better on their own. Then came the disrespect, small at first, boundaries crossed, feelings dismissed. But it chipped away at us. I should have left sooner. I could have saved myself the pain, but I stayed because I loved her. I stayed hoping things would change. Now, I know walking away was the right choice. It hurt like hell, but it was necessary. Staying would have meant losing myself, my dignity, my happiness. I couldn't do that anymore. If you're listening to this and going through something similar, just know this. Don't ignore your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If you feel like you're just there for someone's convenience, chances are the love stopped being the glue in your relationship a long time ago. People who twist your words or downplay your hurt are trying to control the narrative. Don't let them. It's not your fault. Love is more than just sticking around because it's easy. If respect is gone, if love is gone, then it's not worth holding on to. Walking away might be the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most powerful. You deserve to be happy.